go.
There we go.
Wonderful. Hey, everybody. Good to see you. This is kind of a fun little project that we've got going, because not only are we going to be talking about the second part of the whole intonation deal that we chatted about before. This is Takako.
Hi.
and she's helping me out again while she gets a cooking lesson at the same time. We've got some food that's now percolating beautifully while we now use that time to talk a little bit about the intonation. Now, the last time that we got together, we talked about unisons and octaves and how important it is to get that as your basis, especially for younger players that play a lot of unisons in middle school, some in elementary school, these 4th and 5th grade bands. You're doing a lot of unison playing, so it's good to get to know what good unisons sound like. So the first thing that we need to do, we just kind of both got our horns out. So Takako-san, why don't we tune to a B flat, concert B flat. We're both using our B flat trumpets today, so no C trumpets. So I'll set the B flat and let's see where we are. Okay, and with that. I think we can refine that even better, because if you notice, there's a little bit of a buzz at the very beginning, and of course, her being a good musician, she makes the adjustment very quickly. But let's see if we can get it so that when she plays, it's right in tune. And there we are. So we've got a nice little unison going there. Just for fun, why don't we do the octave? Why don't you do the low C? So there we go. Nice little octave to play. So the thing that we have to do is talk about some of the intervals now. And the intervals that we probably deal with more is the thirds, the major and minor thirds. So let's see what it sounds like when the major third is not quite in tune. Why don't you play that low C? I'll tell you what, play the upper C. I think it's easier to hear some of the intonation in the upper register, okay?
Okay.
Now, you hear a lot of that rattling. Remember that we were talking about that buzz? Now, there's a good buzz and there's a bad buzz. That's a bad buzz because the note just doesn't sound settled. I purposely played a little bit sharp. Okay, so now I'm going to bring it down a little, and let's see if we can get the good buzz, get that resultant tone. And you start to hear the resultant tone. Remember the result? No, we haven't really talked about resultant tones because we were talking about octaves and unisons, and there are no resultant tones. Oh, okay, well, let's have that conversation. We're going to do this one more time. This time you play middle G, and I'm going to play the B above that. There's the bad buzz. Now listen to what happens after I start to drop my B a little bit, because I'm playing purposely sharp. So you hear low, an octave lower. That's called a resultant tone. Very easy to explain that. If you can imagine that every pitch vibrates at a certain rate, like we tune in the orchestra to A440. What does that mean? It means there are 440 cycles per second. So if I'm playing a tone that vibrates, let's say, at 250 cycles a second, and somebody is playing a note that vibrates at 200 cycles a second, The mathematical difference between 250 and 200 is 50, right? 250 minus 200 gives you 50. So the 50 will be the tone that is vibrating underneath you. Listen to it one more time. And you can hear a third tone. So out of two trumpets, when they're well in tune, you hear a third trumpet playing. That's how you make a band sound bigger and fuller. When everybody's playing in tune, it's like there's another band playing with them. All right? So this is a very important sort of concept. And it happens on all major thirds. Every interval has a perfect place where you'll get the resultant tones. Would you play an F for me, please? The F just under the G. That's out of tune. Now listen in tune. Da, 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 da. You actually get F, A, C. And that's what you want to look for when you're doing these notes are in tune. So the general rule is that when you have a major third, those four half steps, it is four half steps, right? No, no, da, 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 da. Yeah, four half steps. And then in general, it'll be a little bit sharp. Not in all cases, but most cases it will. And so you just have to listen until everything is in tune. Let's do this just for fun. Why don't you play a C major scale, and I'll play an E major scale on top, so it's all major thirds. And let's see how that goes. Just a little bit louder.
Okay.
So that's kind of an odd thing to hear, but in each case you heard that third tone. Sounds like there's somebody else in the room with us playing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, major thirds, you drop the third. You can either raise the bottom note or you lower the top note, the third. In minor thirds, it's exactly the opposite. You have to raise the third a little bit. Okay? Why don't you go ahead and play that low C again? Hear it? I'm going to play the third low. This is kind of a fun thing. I mean, if you listen for the resultant tone. Let's play, why don't you play a G in the staff. Here's another minor third. Na, ba, da, da. Oh,
Rice.
I'm going to pause this because the rice is calling us. We'll be right back. So, Takako and I just had a wonderful little lunch of
nice.
Puerto Rican rice and beans.
Very nice.
And so now we're ready to replay here. So now let's do this. We've talked a little bit about the major scales and, the major third and the minor third. So why don't we do this? Let's play a scale. You play a C scale, and I'll just start on E in the key of C as well. No sharps or flats, no sharps or flats. So what you will hear is a combination of major thirds and minor thirds.
Okay.
Now the horns are cold, but that's okay.
Yeah.
We'll make our adjustments as we go. Excuse me. Swallowed my own spit. Sorry. One more time. Let's do that last C. That was me, I think. There we go. That's settled in. So as you play things that are in thirds, whether major or minor thirds, you must listen for that buzz that is full of resultant tones. So why don't we do this? Let's try fourths.
Okay.
Okay, perfect fourths. So like from C to F or from D to G, for example. In fact, let's do those notes.
Okay. So I play C.
You play let's just start off with C and F.
Okay.
You hear that? You hear that interval. You do a C major scale and I'll do an F major scale. So a very different sort of a sound and different adjustments. In fact, I'd like to do that a little slower.
Okay.
And really let the sounds have a chance to really settle. One more time. So I'm just going to come up just a little bit. Just a wee bit. There we go. You can hear the F that I'm playing an octave lower than that. So let's get used to that sound. Now let's try the perfect fifth. Okay, so from C to G, D to A, and let's listen for that sound. And we'll go about that speed, so that if it's not in tune, I'll make the adjustment.
Okay.
Yeah. Now you're saying, wait a minute, you said different notes, but it sounds very much the same. Well, because you've got C to G, which could easily sound like G to C, which is a fourth.
Fourth. Right.
But we're going C to G. So there's a similarity in the way that you treat these perfect intervals, the perfect fourth and the perfect fifth, because inverted, they are each other. The perfect fourth inverted is the perfect fifth, and the perfect fifth inverted is a perfect fourth. And again, you can hear I'm imagining what that must sound like
Right.
once it's in tune on the machine. I'm sure that the computer speakers are going, what is going on? So now, there's one interval that is problematic, and that is the tritone. So the C to F sharp or G flat, depending on how you want to spell it harmonically, or the C sharp to a G. This presents a slightly different problem. Um, there's a reason that the early church musicians, I mean, back in the 1300s, referred to this as diabolus in musica, the devil in music, because it was a very tough interval to deal with. And in fact, they forbade, they actually prohibited using the tritone because it was such an odd interval. It just didn't sound right. So the early monks that wrote music did everything they could to avoid the tritone. So let's try that. So let's try C to F sharp.
Okay.
Yeah,
You want
it's
me to
just
go?
I don't even know what key I'm playing in. So you can see. Oh yeah, that's right. I'll be in F sharp major. Okay, or G flat major. One more time. No, very funky. So, but there are out of tune tritones. Okay, stay on the F, on the G, and I'll go up and down on the F sharp just so you can hear that there.
So the G major?
No, you just play a C. Just play a C, and I'll play the F sharp. So you actually can find a place where it settles really nicely, but it takes a bit of doing. And then once you go to the sixths, it's just like the thirds. They are inverted thirds. So the same ear that you use for hearing the thirds, you do with the sixths as well. Now, I'm going to do something. I'm going to ask you to hold on to a C, and then I'm going to play E, G, B flat. And what you will find is that I really have to drop that B flat in order to get it so that it's in tune. So take a good breath, because I'm going to sit there for a while. Just a little bit louder. Yeah, and if that B flat is too sharp, this is what it sounds like. It doesn't work, but now let's hear when it's in tune. Yeah. Now, a few times in this tape, I've asked you to play a little louder. And that's very important because oftentimes when you're correcting pitch, it has more to do, it will occasionally have to do with the balance. If the voices are not balanced so that we have an equal loudness. In fact, I prefer to have the bottom be a little fuller and a little bit louder. The upper register always speaks for itself very nicely. But sometimes something will be in tune, but if it is not balanced properly, if a voice is too loud or too soft, then it will sound out of tune when in fact it really isn't. Okay? So let's do this. Why don't we? You know what? There's a nice little duet in the Arbans. Let me just get that.
Okay.
The Arbans trumpet method, and it's a very, very simple duet. Thank you. Yeah, just at the very beginning here. And this is one of my favorite ones to play when you're first just sort of warming up with someone. We're gonna just, can you see if I?
Yes.
Like that. And it's mostly, it's all in C major, and it's mostly just these thirds and sixths and like that. It really isn't, it's mostly in thirds and sixths. So let's take a listen, since that's what our focus was today. Let's listen to one duet. This is duet number one, a sacred song by Portniansky from the Arban Method book. Do that one more time. Bum, da, da, da.
Oh, I see. Got
right
it.
there, yeah. Yeah, so that's the idea, is to, it's not a race, you don't have to play super fast duets. Work on nice slow ones and just enjoy listening to the resonance that you get from playing these things, just super in tune. Never forgetting that you have to play musically. Don't play robotically. You know, make sure that you're playing real phrases and things like that. In fact, I think that approaching it musically really helps to make your ear want to hear it in tune.
Definitely.
I think that if you play it robotically, you're working on the wrong thing, even though you think you are working on the right thing. You always have to have that sense of a phrase, something that you're saying. So, Takako, thank you.
Thank you.
Hey.
Thank you.
Okay. See you for the next one, whatever it is.
Yes.
I think I'm done talking about intonation for a while.
Thank you.